Most people live like they're trying to outrun a storm. They push harder, sleep less, chase faster, and call it ambition. They tell themselves that if they stop, even for a moment, they'll fall behind. That rest is weakness. That if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't count. But deep down, they're exhausted because they're living under a false law that force equals progress. It's a belief so ingrained, so culturally worshipped, we don't even question it. We've come to see effort as virtue and stillness as laziness. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. Not all effort is aligned, and not all progress is loud. Sometimes what you call ambition is just fear dressed in hustle. And sometimes the harder you try, the more you push away the very thing you're trying to create. Have you ever tried to grab water with a clenched fist? The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes. But when your hand is open, when you're still, when you're calm, the water rests gently in your palm. You don't lose it. You hold it, effortlessly. That's the paradox most people miss. The more you force life, the more it resists you. The more you chase outcomes, the more they elude you. But when you stop pushing, when you stop demanding that life perform on your schedule, something changes. You start moving with life instead of against it. You start flowing. And flow is where real power lives. Not the power that screams, not the power that demands, but the kind that moves mountains quietly, almost invisibly. You see, there's a rhythm to life, a timing, a pace. And just like in music, forcing the beat ruins the song. But when you trust the rhythm, when you sync with it, you start to dance instead of stumble. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you act from a different place, not from desperation or pressure, but from clarity. Not from fear, but from trust. And that shift, that changes everything, because most of the time what we call hard work is just misaligned energy. It's force without flow, movement without direction. It's like trying to sail against the wind because you're too afraid to wait for the tide. But real change, real results, come when you start listening. When you stop shouting at life and start hearing what it's trying to tell you. Think about the moments in your life when you've had your best ideas. They didn't come in the middle of a sprint or a panic or a flurry of productivity. They came in silence, in the shower, on a walk, lying in bed when your guard was finally down. Why? Because silence is where truth lives, and clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. You don't force wisdom, you receive it. But you can't receive anything if you're gripping everything so tightly that nothing can enter. Most people live clenched, tense jaw, tight chest, white-knuckled mind, always trying to control the next moment, predict the next move, manipulate the next outcome. But here's what they don't realize. Control is an illusion, and the tighter you cling to it, the more chaotic your life becomes. Letting go is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not passive. It's strength in its purest form. Because it takes real courage to release your grip, to stop micromanaging every detail, to surrender not in defeat, but in wisdom, to say, I don't need to force this anymore. What's meant for me will come. That doesn't mean you stop showing up. It means you stop straining. It means you stop chasing validation, recognition, or timelines that don't belong to you. It means you stop performing for a world that only applauds your exhaustion. Because what you let go of defines you just as much as what you chase. When you move from fear, everything feels urgent. Every delay is a threat. Every silence feels like rejection. Every obstacle becomes a crisis. But when you move from trust, life feels different. You start to understand that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. And just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's wrong. You start tuning in, not out. You start acting, not reacting. You stop grabbing at things not meant for you, and suddenly you realize how much you were carrying that wasn't yours in the first place. Look around. The calmest people you know, the ones who move with quiet confidence, who always seem to be in the right place at the right time. Do you really think that's just luck? Or could it be that they've mastered something most of us overlook? They stopped trying to control life, and they started working with it. They let go of the need to dominate the world, and they gained the power to navigate it. That's what letting go really is. It's not passivity. It's partnership. The world will tell you, force it. But nature whispers something else. Allow it. And nature is never wrong. You don't force a flower to bloom. You don't scream at the tide to rise. You don't rush the seasons. You trust their timing. So why don't we trust ours? Why do we treat our own path like it needs to be shoved into existence? Because we've been taught to fear stillness. We've been taught that if we're not in motion, we're failing. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait. Not idly, not lazily, but with presence, with trust, with awareness. Because in that space, when the noise quiets and your breath slows, you'll hear something deeper than your thoughts. You'll hear yourself. That's where intuition lives. Not in the chaos of pressure, but in the calm of alignment. And when you start living from that place, not only do you make better choices, you make faster progress. Not because you're rushing, but because you're no longer distracted by what was never meant for you. You're no longer wasting energy chasing things that look good on paper, but feel hollow in your chest. You're no longer trying to outrun your own truth. You're walking with it. Ask yourself, what are you forcing right now? What are you gripping so tightly that it's draining the life out of you? And who would you be if you let go, even for a moment? Because sometimes that one moment, that pause, that breath, that quiet release changes everything. Sometimes the breakthrough isn't in the push, but in the surrender. And don't get it twisted. Letting go is not quitting. It's choosing. It's saying, I choose peace over panic. I choose alignment over approval. I choose trust over control. And when you start making choices like that, you stop chasing things. They start finding you. New people, new opportunities, new clarity. Not because you fought harder, but because you finally got out of your own way. Most people are living in survival mode, always on edge, always strategizing, always a second away from burnout. And they wonder why they can't create, why they can't feel, why they can't hear themselves. It's because they've never felt safe enough to let go. But when you finally do, when your nervous system relaxes, when your breath deepens, when your body softens, everything changes. Creativity flows, energy returns, ideas come back. You're not behind, you're just now aligned. And that's where your power has been hiding this whole time. You don't need to fight your way through life. You don't need to struggle your way into worthiness. You don't need to prove yourself through exhaustion. There is a quieter way, a truer way, a way where your steps are lighter and your decisions are clearer, where you're not dragging the weight of who you think you should be, but standing tall in who you are. So ask yourself, what would life look like if you stopped forcing it? Who would you become if you trusted the flow? And what might be waiting for you on the other side of letting go? If this is all making sense to you, hit the subscribe button and join the Paradox Theory. Thank you. Letting go is a battlefield, not a retreat. It's the fiercest fight you'll face, not against the world, but against your own need to control, to predict, to force outcomes that your mind can't guarantee. Most people confuse control with power, but they are opposites. Power is the ability to influence, to adapt, to act with clarity. Control is the desperate grasp at certainty in an uncertain world, and it always breaks you. When you let go, you're not abandoning your goals or your values. You're refusing to be a slave to your fears and compulsions. This is not weakness. It's the ultimate act of strength, the refusal to be consumed by things outside your power. Look around. The people who seem to have it all together aren't the ones pulling every string or manipulating every outcome. They're the ones who have learned what to fight for and what to let slip through their fingers. Letting go means surrendering your attachment to how things should be. It means giving up the illusion that your worth depends on outcomes, on other people's approval, on the applause of the crowd. Because those things are like sand. You clutch them tightly and they cut into your hands. You open your palms and they slip away, but the hands are free. And freedom is power. This doesn't mean being passive or lazy. It means acting with precision, with focus, with relentless discipline, not reacting to every distraction or every setback, but moving deliberately, strategically, with patience. The mistake most people make is confusing letting go with giving up. They think it means quitting the fight, but the fight they're really in is the battle for their own mind. The fight to stop sabotaging themselves by clinging to fear and false certainty. You don't need to force yourself to be a different person. You need to let go of who you think you must be to feel safe. You don't need to chase validation. You need to stop needing it. You don't need to control every detail. You need to master your response, because life will always be unpredictable. There will always be chaos, loss, pain. The question isn't how to avoid these things. It's how to face them without losing yourself. Letting go means becoming unshakable. Not because the world bends to you, but because you don't bend to the world. It's the power of the calm eye in the middle of the storm. So stop trying to force outcomes that aren't yours to command. Stop exhausting yourself chasing approval you can never fully earn. Stop gripping so tightly you suffocate your own potential, and instead lean into the discomfort of uncertainty. Stand firm in your values, trust your intuition, move forward with a clarity that no external circumstance can break. That is strength, that is power, that is freedom. Releasing the need to control is not surrendering to fate. It's embracing the raw essence of existence. There's power in stepping back from the endless grasping, in loosening the grip on what you think must be. Instead of exhausting yourself against an immovable wall, you begin to move with the currents of life, guided by wisdom rather than desperation. This shift rewires your inner landscape. The constant tension in your chest softens, the racing thoughts quiet. You realize how much energy you've wasted trying to force outcomes that were never meant for you. What once felt like failure now reveals itself as redirection. When you stop wrestling with the unknown, you open space for unexpected possibilities to enter. Life ceases to be a battleground where you're always fighting, and instead becomes a dance. Sometimes leading, sometimes following, always attuned to the rhythm beneath the surface. True strength is not proving you can control every aspect, but knowing when to step aside, to observe rather than act. It is patience and presence. It is a fierce trust in the unfolding of your own story, even when the chapters are unclear. Within this acceptance lies freedom. The freedom to be imperfect, to stumble, to feel uncertain without panic. The freedom to rest in your own skin, no longer shackled by the fear of what might or might not happen. Your mind stops spinning with endless what-ifs. Your heart stops aching with unmet expectations. You find yourself grounded in the moment, fully aware, fully alive. Your relationship with time changes too. You no longer live in fear of delays or missed chances. You understand that growth and fulfillment follow their own timing, often invisible until they blossom fully. This awareness shifts your perspective on setbacks and challenges. They are no longer threats to your security, but invitations to deepen your understanding and expand your capacity. In this way, you transform from a reactive participant to a conscious co-creator of your life. You stop battling reality and begin to embrace it, honoring its complexity, its unpredictability, its beauty. The paradox is that by releasing the desperate grasp for control, you gain a profound form of mastery. Mastery not over the world, but over yourself. You become less entangled in fleeting desires and external validations. Instead, you root yourself in something far more enduring, an unshakable connection to your own inner truth. This is a freedom few experience because it demands honesty and courage. It asks you to face uncertainty without retreating into old habits of fear and avoidance. But when you accept this challenge, a new kind of peace takes root. It is not the peace of complacency, but the peace of acceptance and clarity. From here, life flows differently. You are not at the mercy of circumstances or emotions. Instead, you move with intention, fluidity, and grace. You recognize that some things are simply beyond your control, and you find liberation in that fact. The horizon opens, the weight of unnecessary burdens lifts. You find space to breathe, to create, to live authentically. So, ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped gripping so tightly to what you think you need? What would you discover about yourself if you allowed space for mystery and uncertainty? What kind of strength would emerge if you stopped struggling and started listening? The answers may surprise you, because true power often arrives disguised as surrender. Because the greatest victories are won not by force, but by wisdom. And at the heart of this wisdom is a simple truth. Life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be experienced. And at the heart of this wisdom is a simple truth. Life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be experienced, not measured, not conquered, not optimized into submission, but felt, witnessed, held with open hands. It's a lesson many spend a lifetime avoiding, chasing certainty, chasing titles, chasing safety in places it cannot be found. But the moment you stop chasing and start noticing, everything changes. You begin to see beauty where before there was only distraction. The way the light filters through the leaves, the pause between two breaths, the subtle rhythm of your own heartbeat, reminding you that life is already happening, without effort, without performance. This is not passivity. This is alignment. The moment when your inner world no longer fights the outer one. When you stop waging war against what is, and instead step into relationship with it. You listen. You observe. You respond, not react. And this responsiveness is where your deepest strength lies, because it is not born from the need to dominate or control, but from the wisdom of knowing what truly matters. You realize how much energy you once spent resisting what was. The internal dialogue of, this shouldn't be happening, I should be further along, I need to be more. And now you begin to ask quieter, more honest questions. What is this moment asking of me? What can I learn here? What does my body need right now? You replace striving with attunement, and from attunement comes clarity, not the kind manufactured by force, but the kind that rises when the noise fades. You begin to understand your patterns, your pain, your defenses. You see where you once abandoned yourself in the name of approval, where you shrank yourself to avoid rejection, where you numbed to cope with chaos. But now, you stay. You don't flinch away from the truth anymore. You meet it with softness, even when it stings. You sit with your discomfort like it's a teacher, because it is. Every trigger, every ache, every longing, they are not interruptions to your journey. They are the journey. And in this stillness, something miraculous happens. You begin to transform, not by pretending to be someone else, not by building a shinier version of yourself, but by unbecoming everything that was never truly you. You peel away the layers of conditioning, of expectation, of performance, and return to something more essential, something quieter, something honest. This is the rebirth. And no, it does not happen all at once. There is no single moment of arrival. It is a process of continual unfolding, continual shedding, continual remembering. You will forget. You will fall back into old patterns. That's okay. Growth is not about perfection. It's about persistence, about coming home to yourself again and again. With every return, the path becomes clearer. You begin to live with more integrity, not the moral kind, but the soul kind. The alignment between your inner truth and outer actions. The willingness to let your no be firm and your yes be full. The courage to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. You become trustworthy to yourself, and so must we. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read your experiences and reflections. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe. It's important, much more than you imagine. And trust me, the journey we're on together is just getting started. The next videos are going to go even deeper, so stick around. You won't want to miss what's coming next. See you soon.